Hello YouTubers. Some of you know about my fiasco in the ER earlier today. If you're not aware of it, just click on the link below and read all about it. Anyhow, the whole thing left me with an interesting story to tell. The chap in the bed beside me died last night. I just wanted to share it with you. What happened is sort of interesting, very interesting. Everything was very quiet. All of a sudden I noticed that everyone started to go in a little bit of a frenzy. I didn't hear anything going on over there, but the people out in the hallway, all of a sudden they were getting really frenzied, and all of a sudden they all started rushing over there. There was a curtain between us, so I couldn't see what was going on. And I'm gonna assume, I think there was probably maybe 6 people in there, or maybe more. There was a lot of people in there. And first I heard them say something about, I kept hearing them say, I don't feel a pulse, I don't feel a pulse. Every couple of minutes they would, say pulse check, and all the time, except for maybe one time, the answer came back, no pulse. And sometimes I didn't hear the responses, but one time I think they said, I think there was a faint pulse, but most of the time there was like no pulse. And then I heard him say, get the Effie, give him an Effie. Well, they did that. Oh, how often do they do that? Every few minutes they said, give him an Effie. So I guess they were giving him epinephrine, and they were doing CPR over there too. And I never knew this before, but apparently CPR has a funny sound to it. Because I would hear like this, I can't quite describe it. It's like, I can't do it. No, I can't do it, but that must have been the CPR. It was making a funny sound. And oh, and then just like on television, I heard him say, clear, or charging, and then clear, and everyone, stood back. But I never heard, like on TV, when you put paddles on somebody and you hear like a and the body, is like bouncing around on the bed. None of that at all. Very quiet. I never heard anything actually after they said clear. But they did that twice, and the charging thing made a, like a whistling noise. While it whistled, or while it charged up, and then when it was done, all of a sudden they said clear. Anyhow, they worked on that chap for 40 solid minutes. I believe his name was David. And right in the middle of it all, at one point, one of the attendants came from his bed over to me to check my blood sugar. And I said to him, I don't want all that fuss on me, because I knew, this David guy was long gone, you know what I mean? And so I told the guy, I don't want that sort of fuss on me. He said, well, make sure you have an advance directive at the hospital. I told him, I do actually. So, and I know this sounds silly, but if something ever happened to me, I always was terrified at the idea of having those paddles on me, like, ugh. Anyhow, so I asked him about David over there, and how old he was. Apparently he was 87 years old. He said, I guess he had driven himself to the hospital, and he was like in the throes of a heart attack or something, and he was already barely responsive. They got him out of the car, the guy said, and put him in there. That's funny, because I didn't hear any of that where they put him in there, I mean, that curtain was always drawn, but I sure didn't hear anything going on. So anyhow, so yes, the gentleman died right there, and I knew he was not coming back. I mean, as much as they worked on him, I just knew, because he would have been back by then, obviously. The curtains between us, they were solid up to like maybe a couple of feet from the ceiling, and then at the top was like a see-through mesh. I know this sounds silly, but I kept staring real hard up there to see if I could maybe sense his spirit leaving or something. I never did see his spirit, but something interesting happened though, because I was praying for him too the whole time this was going on. Not necessarily praying that he survived, but praying that he didn't have any suffering. I can't stand to see people suffer. Anyhow, all of a sudden they're like right in the middle of all this still going on there. I felt this, like, I don't know how to describe it except to say like a bubble of pure love right in front of me for just a few seconds, and then it went on, and I'm sort of thinking, I wonder if that's David. Maybe because he knew I was praying for him or something, maybe came over to say goodbye or thank you or something. I don't know. It was just a real sheer energy of love, and then it just disappeared. So anyhow, finally they called it at 5:18 in the morning, and I heard him talking about getting the chaplain and telling the family. I guess he had already called the daughter a couple times and talked to her, keeping her abreast of the situation, and they were talking about make sure that they cleaned up everything that from their messes, and trying to make sure that the room was clean so the family wouldn't be distressed by anything. And it was sort of interesting because they worked on him for 40 minutes, and this is their job, and they face death all the time, and after they finally called it, well, even while they were working on him, I'd hear them over there giggling and stuff like that about different things, and because they're at work, and it's like me and my colleague, we kid around and laugh at each other throughout the day, and I could hear them over there doing the same thing, and so it was just kind of neat, I don't know if it would offend some people. It doesn't offend me at all. You can laugh at my bedside all you want to. I couldn't care less. But yeah, and then they had to wheel me off to the bathroom because it was way on down the hallway a bit, and they didn't want me walking. So they wheeled me over there, and I saw the family at that time had came and were sitting out there, and I was sort of puzzled because there was two black ladies and a white man, and so I was wondering, well, is David black or white? I had no clue. So, and the son, the man, he ended up saying he was his son, and I'm not sure who the lady was. I think it was his daughter, because they kept talking about calling his daughter, and I assume the other one was a granddaughter. So, and then I overheard him, talking to the family about procedure and everything, and they can sit in there with him for a while, and then later on they'll take him to the morgue, and then call the funeral home, and also while they were working on him, a couple times I heard him say, does he have his cell phone in his pocket? I assume maybe that was because when they were going to give him the paddles, you can't have a cell phone or something in your pocket, or electronics, because it might, I don't know, mess with the electrical current. I have no idea, but I heard him ask that a couple times, make sure he got no cell phone in his pocket or something like that. And I also heard him mention something about sodium bicarb. I heard him mentioned that 2 or 3 times. Isn't that baking soda? I have no idea what baking soda has to do with a heart attack. So there's a lot of medical lingo over there that I was not familiar with. So, and then finally when they said I could be discharged, and they unhooked me from everything, because they had me on IVs and heart monitor and stuff like that. So I peeked my head in over there, and I saw David. He was a black man, very thin, 87 years old they had said, but he didn't look that old. So he was just laying there peacefully at all. So I hope for his sake that he didn't suffer too much. But it was an interesting night, let me tell you that. So I just wanted to share that with you. See you next time.